All right. Well, welcome everyone to a pre-snow Saturday morning art clinic online. Thanks to everyone for being here today. I just want to, before we get started in introducing Lenny, I do want to remind you that in 2 weeks, we on February 7th, Montgomery Art Association is sponsoring an art forum, which for those of you who have been a part of them in the past, art forums are when we have three artists kind of come together and talk about a topic. And this year, Montgomery Art Association is sponsoring the Abstract Art Forum. So we have some incredible painters lined up, and I encourage you to go check their page to kind of preview all three. I won't jump into them in too much detail yet, but we're really excited to see the artists that we have lined up this year. So thanks to Montgomery Art Association, and see you guys in 2 weeks for this incredible event. Our artist today, Shawn Yancy, is hosted by probably one of our very first, maybe second or third artists that we ever had at the Art Clinic Online as we enter our fourth year of this program. So I've known Lenny a long time, ever since we hired him for a judge for the high school exhibition at Bruns Yellow Barn. I don't know how long ago that was, Lenny. It's been a while. But we've gone on a lot of adventures to Miami and so forth over the years, and I'm grateful to call Lenny a friend and a mentor in the concept of trying to promote artists in the DMV area, because I think it is a worthy, sometimes Sisyphusian task of trying to promote artists here. But we are very grateful that Lenny is probably one of the biggest promoters of artists that I can up to, in the area. So, without further ado, I'll pass the torch to Lenny, who will introduce our artist this morning. Thanks, Lenny.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for that really nice introduction. Um, I would like to introduce Shawn Yancy. It popped into my head that as we expect Snowmageddon Part 2 here, Shawn probably remembers Snowmageddon Part 1 because at the time she was my neighbor, and
You saved
and
me.
it was pretty brutal. It wasn't me. It wasn't my wife.
It was Alita.
Uh, who walked Shawn from our house, because they were next to each other, all the way to the street where an emergency vehicle from her job was able to pick her up and take her to work. Because yes, through like 100 feet of snow, she still had to go to work, which is more than any of us had to do at the time. But putting that aside, Shawn is one of those multi-talented persons that I suspect there's a handful of those every generation in the world that can do anything that they want to and do it not just well, but superbly well. Um, she is an artist whose work, and I'll let her talk about her, and I'll be asking a few questions throughout the display and show and interview and all that. But she's one of those people that I think her work, well, I know her work has deep roots in her experiences in life, and it 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 provokes thoughts once you discover what those roots are. Um, for example, the piece that she had at the Women Artists of the DNV exhibition, once you read what provoked that piece, then you begin to feel, wow, I see that. Which is considering the fact that Shawn is generally mostly an abstract painter, uh, creates the fact that she has, in my mind, solved one of the hardest tasks to any abstract painter, which is the ability not only to create um, work that is visually attractive and that hooks the passerby as they walk by it, but also has a story behind it. As a big, 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 deep believer in narrative art, that always attracts me. She's, in addition to that, quite possibly the only Emmy-winning artist that I have ever met. So, and that comes from going to Miami art fairs, where you see a lot of Hollywood people that pretend to be artists, uh, that use kind of their name to push their art. Where in this case, I can assure you that this is not the case. Even though if I was in Shawn's shoes, I'd be using the hell out of it. But she doesn't. She lets her art speak for itself, which tells you something about this lady. Shawn, up to you now.
Lenny, first of all, thank you. I'll send you the check later. But no, I really, really appreciate that. And yes, as we're waiting on the snow, it does remind me very much. Many 10 years ago, we lived next door, and Lenny's wonderful wife, we got stuck. All of our neighbors were trying to use snow blowers to get us out. We could not get out. Lenny's wife walked like a mile out to the main road, and I followed her in thigh deep snow, walking in her footsteps. She helped me walk out to the main road, and I was like carrying all my bags. A news truck met me out there so they could then bring me to the station. So I'm so grateful to Alita. And this time they've offered me a hotel, and I said yes. Last time I said no, I can get there on my own, but I won't live through that again. Lenny, thank you so much. Art is my escape. Art is my release. Art is my happy place. Art is my passion. And if you ask my parents, they would tell you I've been doing this since I was a little girl. And I am not a professionally trained artist. I did not go to school to do that. I went to school to be a broadcast journalist and discovered this years ago and have just kept going. What really sparked the renewal of my interest in this, I want to say maybe about 20 years ago. I was in a gallery somewhere and I saw some art that was just really spoke to me, but I couldn't afford it. And I thought to myself, okay, well, let me create pieces that I love for my own home. And so I started doing that, and a friend came over and asked who did that. And I said, I did. And she was like, you got to show your work. And I'm like, that's not what this is about. And she encouraged me, and I did. And it's kind of been like that from there on. For me, art is also another way for me to tell stories. As Lenny mentioned, yeah, I have Emmys and whatever awards in art. I'm sitting in what used to be the Meet the Press studios here at NBC4. There's an intersection of my job as a journalist and my job as an artist. As a journalist, I am limited to what I can have an opinion on or what I can express or what I can talk about. But in art, I'm not. And so that is how I'm able to not stay in that box that journalism creates or I have to respect. In art, I don't have to live in the box. In art, I don't have to do what they say you're supposed to do on TV. It gives me a freedom that I don't otherwise have. I'm going to share my screen now because I figured this out. So please bear with me for just a second. Okay, great. So hold on, let me move this around. I like to use color. I like to use texture. I am mainly an acrylic. I use acrylics on canvas. I use acrylics on anything. That's sort of what I do. And oftentimes I paint what I'm feeling at the moment or about what's going on around me, and I can't necessarily talk about it on the news. And I'm going to show you, I guess, some mixes of my use of acrylic on canvas and then acrylic on acrylic, which is what I do. Lenny, if you have questions or something, please jump in. Anybody has a question you want to ask, feel free to jump in and let me know. So these two pieces were, these are called Passion, and I will let you use your own thoughts and ideas. This is just a play. This is also another acrylic on canvas, and also wax acrylic on canvas. This is acrylic on acrylic. These are huge, really large. These are, I believe, 4 feet tall. I like to typically make pieces that are larger because they speak to me and they make me happy. And my husband, who is very much business minded, always asks me why I don't make smaller pieces. And I'd say I just have to make what makes me happy, not necessarily about what other people want or what he thinks might work business wise, because his brain thinks business, my brain thinks I got to do what I love. This is more of the acrylic on canvas. And I just love the use of color, texture, and movement. And this one is very personal to me. This is called Birth. I have three incredible sons, and this piece came to me when I was painting this because I had trouble getting them here. They're spaced very far apart. We had infertility issues, and the journey was at times dark and then very happy. And I had each of them look at this and tell me what they saw, and they recognized their birth dates in it, but they're upside down. It's kind of like the journey when you see a little bit of the ultrasound, when you get the ultrasound, but the sunshine pushing through which was ultimately the three of them getting them here and that long journey, but just the happiness of that. So this is acrylic on canvas on wood, but this is about that journey. Go ahead, Lenny. Did you want to say something?
So yes, I one of my pet peeves with artists is when they and this comes from the commercial side of my brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is when they create a piece of artwork that they love so much. By the way, my wife, who's also an artist, it's member of this tribe that I'm about to describe. They create a piece of artwork that they love so much that they then don't want to part with it. And I'm always of the opinion that the best place for a piece of artwork is on somebody else's walls, not in your studio, not in your uh, house, none of that stuff, right? And I understand that that's a harsh, sort of very black and white delineation of that uh, that part of art. So I was going to ask you about this beautiful piece, which obviously is very personal. Do you have that issue with any of your work, since it's all kind of triggered by something personal? Do you have an issue if somebody says, "Oh, I love that so much," and you're like, "Ah, sorry, I don't want to sell that," or have you been able to overcome that pet peeve of mine?
So, to speak to your pet peeve, Lenny, the first time that I showed this piece, I had my first solo gallery showing at the Pepco Edison Art Gallery. And when I talked about this piece, I choked up and got very emotional. And then I wasn't paying attention and realized that it was sold. And my heart sank. So, yes, I was having one of those moments. And, but then I realized my cousin bought the piece because she said, I heard your emotion and I thought you'll die if somebody else buys this. So I'm going to buy it to keep it in the family. And so, yeah, I completely understand what you're saying, Lenny. And no, I don't have that issue with anything else. This one I did, and it hit me, but it didn't hit me until I started talking about it and what it meant to me. So, I'm grateful that she purchased it. So it is still in the family, but it's hard when you do things that are really, really personal. Sometimes it does make it a little bit harder. So
So
nothing else.
along that same track, then have you had a something that has triggered, like you were explaining, the need to create a piece of artwork, but the event itself becomes a roadblock towards the creation of the work because of whatever reason, it's harshness or it's disparity or whatever.
Absolutely. I'm going to take you back to this. So this is called The Grass is Greener When You Water It. And what this was about, I used to be at a different television station, and eventually it didn't become the right fit for me. And that's what this was about, because I believe that, we hear the saying, the grass is greener, but the grass is greener where you water it. And I don't know if this perfectly aligns with what you were saying, but this was, for me, this was another deeply personal, and I didn't necessarily share the full story here. Um, I'm in a place where I'm being watered differently, if that makes any sense now. And that was what this was about. Did that make sense, Lenny? I don't know if that made sense in what
No,
you wrote.
yeah, yeah, it did 100%. Yes.
So it's hard to see the texture in this. This is very rich in the texture. Um, but oftentimes I try to create what's happening in life sometimes, or what's happening in our world. That's what it's about. It may not be overtly obvious to other people, but it is to me. And this was another very personal piece, but it's sold. It's no longer in my possession, which, is great. So this, I didn't hang on to it, Lenny. I let this one go. So, um, absolutely. Um, let me see. So, the piece there that is on the right of your screen that's more red was the piece that Lenny, which so grateful for, chose to be a part of the Women Artist of the DMV survey show. It's called A Pretty Mess. And the two pieces together, the piece on the left is Life Is, the other piece is A Pretty Mess. This was about life. This was about my life. This is about how beautiful and chaotic life can be, about the highs, the lows, the heartbreaks, the wins, the texture, the grit. Sometimes you're in dark places and angry. So on the left there, it sometimes felt like the chaos that is life. Sometimes I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a journalist, I'm a sister, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a nonprofit founder, I'm an artist. And sometimes I feel like life was so heavy. But then on the other side, on the right in the red, it was the pretty mess that life is, and that the two can coexist, that I can be all of those things and still be who I am. It's a reminder that even when the left side, it feels like a storm, that you can come out and you can find the beauty in it. So these, again, personal to me, but it's finding the beauty in the midst of the beauty, the anger, and the ugly, but still finding the beauty in the midst of all of that in life. Both of these pieces are acrylic on canvas, and that's what those are about. Just another acrylic on canvas piece. These are my acrylics on acrylics. This is the same piece. On the left, it was just installed differently with hardware that we fabricated, and the pieces go directly into the wall. On the right, different hardware when it was installed, but this is just my other way that I like to express myself with the acrylics on acrylics. You see, this is also another acrylic on acrylic. Acrylics on acrylics. These are 3 foot panels, and I love the way that the light plays off of them, and they look. I love them. So, if anybody has any questions, this is what it looks like. This is actually the same piece that's installed in a client's home, to just kind of give you an idea of what it looks like.
John, how do you actually start a piece? Do you kind of say, I have an idea, or is there a color, or is it more, reactionary to the first brushstroke and the first brushstroke is random? Like, how do you kind of jump into a painting from beginning to end?
I walk around, or I have a little notebook that I keep with me all the time. And when the idea hits, I start sketching something out, and kind of go from there. My color palette is probably not as wide as I'd like it to be. I'm working on that right now. I tend to, a lot of times, stay in the same color palette, which I'm pushing myself to. As much as I like to say I like to be outside, I don't like anybody to keep me in a box. I may be keeping myself in a box by not playing with other colors, but usually it starts with an idea in my head that I will quickly write down so that I come back to it and remember, or sketch. I could be in the middle of a newscast and something happens, and I'll pick up my phone and start typing myself a note so that I remember to go back and sketch something down in my book and come back to it later. And I think, like many artists, I used to get mad at myself. Maybe something didn't come out exactly right. I will redo something. I'm not scared of 50 times until you get it right. I will paint over it. I will walk away for a month and come back and try to figure it out. So it just depends on what's happening and what the mood is that day. And how I feel like it might work. Sometimes I've done it just for my specific space, and I'm thinking, what do I want here? And so that's how I go about doing that.
As you mentioned that you think that you have this sort of a palette that you return to uh, quite often, and Jordan knows this. This comes from a person that, people in the audience know Morandi, who painted the same set of like little coffee mugs and bowls a million times over and over and over. I'm one of those persons that does the same drawing for 20 years, constantly doing versions of it. So, where do you have in the back of your head place where you see your artwork and your palette evolving, moving to that people would say, oh, and, in 100 years, Shawn did these in the 2020s, and she did this in the 2050s.
Yes, I'm more. I'm sorry. The question was, do I see myself
Yeah, do you have an idea for do you have anything in the back of your head yet that's saying this is where I want to be in the future once I start moving away from this palette, or if I move away from this palette? Coming from
Yes.
a person that doesn't move away from.
I'm currently working on that right now, stepping outside of the box and working on. I tend to do a lot of red, blacks, whites, silvers, the yellow in there, and I'm trying to right now force myself into some more vibrant hues of pinks and purples and the greens, just to try to see what I can do, because I know I need to push. I feel like I need to push myself into doing something different. When I realize and I look at my body of work, the color palettes or the grays and the yellow, they're very similar. And I'm like, okay, Shawn, you got to do something different. Although I will start and I just won't like it. And I will go back and go back to where I was. So Lenny, right now I am in the midst of trying to push myself to do that as we speak. This is another piece in that same color palette. This is acrylic on wood. You can see what it looks like from the front and kind of see what it looks like from the side as when it's on a wall. This is one of a larger acrylic piece. This is about 6 feet. Commissioned for a client's home. I just love it's simple, but it's just the play on the movement, the feeling. But again, playing with life's ebbs and flows, the chaos, the journey is what they are. 2 different pieces, but also that capture something very similar. Another acrylic on acrylic piece, another acrylic on acrylic piece. Again, I think you can kind of see a theme for what I do. These are more of the acrylic panels and the work that we've done. The piece on the left was sort of a concept piece that a client saw, and those are about 3 feet, and they wanted 7 feet in their house. So we did something for a client where we installed in a client's home super large pieces like that. This is acrylic on acrylic with some resin. You guys are, I'm sure, familiar with that. And this is a project I've been working on here recently. Again, very similar. This is acrylic on acrylic. This is acrylic on paper, is what this is. More acrylic on acrylic, another large piece. This is about 6 feet. Let's see. This is the mixture of textures. Again, the textures and the feelings. This is acrylic on canvas, and then the one in the back, as you can see, is another acrylic on acrylic with the panels that we work, just to give you an idea of what those panels look like up close. And this is something, again, similar color palette, playing with acrylic on foam with resin and wood. This is acrylic on acrylic, but also playing with the texture. It's hard to see the texture here, but that was like the black lava and a bit of resin that is now up in someone's home. And this is back to where we were with a pretty mess is what it is. So that's what I have. So the funny thing is, and I told Lenny this, even though I'm a journalist for a living, I'm used to being on the other side and talking to people are being the person who interviews everybody else, not the person who's being interviewed. It's a little weird for me to talk about myself. So if you have any questions, please ask.
What's a memorable lesson that you learned in dealing with the other side, the clients? Something that sticks in your mind, either positive or negative. Just maybe that way it'll teach some of the people in the audience and me something. What was the most memorable thing you remember?
About a client is the for me it was the unveiling. It was the most memorable moments for me are when we went and we installed the work and we asked them not to come in until we were finished, and when we did the reveal and to see their response to it, I think is the most meaningful for me, because it was I think, just to know that you can make a difference, or, a client said, this is my morning peace. So when I come in here, this calms me down, and this feels peace, this brings me peace. And I think just to know that you've touched someone, or that they feel something when they look at your work, that means everything to me. I think that's the biggest compliment for me, is that you felt something, or you saw something, or maybe you saw something that I don't see. I love when people see things that you don't see, and they find that's like, wow, okay, I think that's one of the coolest things. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, Shawn, I actually was reminded that you came to Glen Echo Park and did our 2 years ago, one of the MCs, I think.
Absolutely. For
Oh, you have
the
to come.
the disco themed.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So you'll have to come visit the Stone Tower, where I'm currently resident artist and inhabiting for the last 18 years. But
I would
just a side note, thank you for supporting the park here at Glen Echo. But
absolutely.
I was actually curious, like when you are observing other art, like other people's art, whether it be National Gallery, like what do you look for? What do you borrow from other artists? Who are your heroes when you go and to a museum?
Um, I love Rothko. I love Elizabeth Catlett. I love. I'm drawn to bold colors. I'm drawn to larger pieces. I'm drawn to mixed media. Um, I have an amazing, but not just. I'm drawn to things that feel still personal to me, even though the people don't know me. Lenny did a piece that I have. It's it's a piece. It's Barack Obama, so it's up in my home, and it's one of my kids did like a clay something with Barack Obama. So I've got Lenny's work contrasted with their clay, and it's kind of theirs is a kid, but it's contrasted with Lenny's. I love to see big, bold, beautiful colors. So as much as I stick in my color palette, I'm attracted to people who are outside of that, who are, I guess, maybe where I'm evolving. I don't know. I don't know that I have to evolve into that, but I just feel like I do sometimes. So I'm drawn to people who are different than me, but similar to me. If that makes any sense.
I think Felissa had a question.
Yes.
Yes, hi. My name is Felisa. I'm a visual artist. I have been doing this for a long, long time, and I'm not afraid of changing things around. So I work in series. So if I try to say something, but I like that the people can do the interpretation by themselves. So I like to ask you one question. I saw a lot of movement in the lines. Are you trying to write something that's related what you are reporting, but you cannot say it at the place that you are hired?
Sometimes, absolutely. Sometimes that's exactly what it's about, because I am so restricted here. Like I can't I watch sometimes, you know, and I don't necessarily, maybe I don't agree with what someone said, but I can't express that opinion on television.
Okay.
But I can get away with it in my art. I can't post it and talk about it on social media, but I can talk about it in my art. So 100%. And that is, for me right now, how I can escape that, you know. Every day we come into the building and the news cycle is 24/7. And on the weekends, I try to shut down, but I can't because I'm a journalist, so it's my job. So I need to kind of know what's going on. But sometimes I do disappear and I turn up the music. And in my process, sometimes I like to turn up the music very loud and have a couple of glasses of champagne and paint. And when I'm there, I'm in my zone, not in the world of television. So yes,
But that one, but I guess I try to interpret your thinking. So you are actually saying something, but you really don't want to tell anybody what you are saying.
Well, let me put it 9 times out of 10, yes. And I feel like I'm at a place now where it's okay to say the something out loud a little bit, or I should say a little bit louder in what I'm doing. I don't have to be as restrained. But yes, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head.
But I feel that also it's important to have where the client or whoever sees the artwork, they can have a free interpretation of what you are writing or showing.
Absolutely.
Because they could see something completely different. That's according of the background
Absolutely.
of the person.
Absolutely. So I don't want to, you know, trap them into whatever necessarily I was always thinking. Some things, yes, but other things, no. I would prefer they feel or interpret it the way they feel it.
Sure. Okay, I'm glad you're doing that.
I hadn't thought about that part, but that's such a great question and quandary that you're in with your work because of who you are outside of the art world, which I suspect most artists don't face. So that's got to be hard sometimes, especially I say if a client that has acquired a piece of artwork then says, "What's this about?" And you're like, "Oh man, what do I say?"
Right. And I think that's the tricky line that I have to walk. And sometimes I've started projects and have not shown them publicly or, you know, shared them yet. The day that I decide I'm not going to do this anymore, then, you know, maybe that collection will be that collection will come out. But yes, there is still a fine line. I mean, you know, any sort of opinion I have about, let's just say politics or what's going on in our world, I can't share that on social media. And I can't share it other places. And while I do have a certain freedom in my art, to a degree, I'm still restrained. And that is a challenge for me.
And I think that's kind of important for many, many artists in a way, because I always tell people to think of your artwork that you just created 150 years from now. How is that going to be viewed, interpreted? Uh, Try to do as much as you can so you can help the Antique Roadshow of 2300 uh, interpret your artwork. Yeah, you're in a hard, maybe again, once you retire, maybe I would recommend that with every piece of artwork, maybe in the back you have attached something that describe what it's about, because the narrative is so powerful in some ways. And the way that psychologically that the work works, at least in my view, is that once you know some of the background, man, you're seeing that in a completely different context.
I agree. I mean, so for us, I look at artists like an Amy Sherald, who has one of my favorite artists, beautiful work, knew that a piece she was doing was not going to be allowed in the Smithsonian. So she pulled out of her show and, she's showing in Baltimore. Well, we try to do a segment here. I tried to do a segment to talk about how art and history was being affected in our museums. And we put together what I thought was going to be a lovely segment, 30-minute, like sit down with an artist whose art is, who talks about issues. She's an issue artist, an activist, and also a museum director, an art museum director. And it was a lovely conversation. Ultimately, it didn't air. And it was frustrating for me as an artist, as a journalist too, because I worked really hard and we got everybody involved and it didn't work. So I think we're in a weird space right now, but to your point, Lenny, I think we shouldn't let anything stop us. So yeah, maybe the things that I don't necessarily show right now, I agree with you. We should, I'll keep them on the side over here, but be prepared for the minute that I am not doing this anymore full time. So I agree with you.
Can you put that interview in another platform?
I cannot, unfortunately. So I wish, but I can't. But it was a great conversation in talking about how artists, we history makers need to make sure that we keep doing what we do and still finding spaces, whether it's the federally funded spaces or private spaces, that we still keep the work going because it's so important and we shouldn't be censored. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Mariana? Oh, you're muted.
Muted, sorry. Hi, this is lovely. I so enjoy your narrative. And a related question to Felisa's, because I'm wondering if, because you cannot speak about certain things, speak out loud in your art, do you ever hide things in it that you think that you would like to say? In posterity, they'll x-ray, they'll say, in the previous iteration, there was a commentary.
I am working on a piece right now, and there is something hidden in it. Absolutely. Because I just, I don't want to be handcuffed or duct taped over my mouth. And to a degree, I still am. So yes, I love that you asked that question. I do have something hidden in a piece that I'm working on right now. Yes, absolutely.
A lot of us, I think, feel that way nowadays.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing it.
But that's according to the job you are doing. Because I don't have that problem.
Good. If you don't have the problem, say whatever you want to say. That's what I, that's what I say. Absolutely.
I can do whatever I can say. A lot of things, and I also use the viewer. The viewers is the interpreter. You hide things, and it can be your next series.
Absolutely.
Where you're gonna put something hidden that people can discover.
I like it. Yes.
Related question I had was, you must have you've been drawing and painting all your life. You can go figurative. It's not something you recoil at, or is it something you recoil at?
Say it one more time.
To be figurative, to paint or draw things or faces or people. Do you ever go there, even privately?
No, I mean no.
It just doesn't come out.
It doesn't come out, and if it does, you don't want to see it. I wish. I wish. No, not very well. Let's put it that way. Not very well. Edith, yes.
I understand. Yeah.
I would like to ask you: did you experiment also with other art media, like oils, pastels, charcoal? Did you try sculpting with clay? As you talked about your children's clay, have you tried doing except of working with acrylic, which I love as well because of the immediacy of painting with, you don't need to wait too long for it to dry and so forth.
I have done charcoal and I have played with wood. Oil scares me, and I know it shouldn't. It scares me. I have not dabbled in it, and I know that I need to try it and get over it. But charcoal and wood, I have not. Clay, not at all, not in a while. Although my kids did lots of clay. So no, and that maybe that's one of the things. Maybe I'll push myself here in 2026 to work a little bit with oils.
Or maybe monotype prints, or, like try something different. I mean, you did expand also, instead of just acrylic on canvas, you did acrylic on wood, you did acrylic on acrylic, which is another way. I've never thought of that. But yeah, I just wondered if you tried. And also, did you try figurative as well, as the other lady was asking?
I've tried. That's something over here that's still a work in progress. A work in progress for sure. A work in progress. But no, I think it's important. I think it's important. I mean, you guys all know as artists that we do try new things, and so I'm certainly that's one of my 2026 goals as I expand my color palette as well.
I admire the fact that you did not study art like myself. I did not study art. I don't have, and that your inner artistic abilities just flourished. And I believe also that every one of us does have, every child, every person has some art in them, but they need to be able to express it, whether it's music or, painting or, yeah.
Express it and be encouraged. That's one of the things. My parents were like, do whatever. I mean, I did that with my own kids. And, I really believe that art is in the beauty of art is in the eye of the beholder. And there are two of my kids' art is much more beautiful in my eyes than the other. But I would never tell him that. But I still encouraged, and we still put the pictures all over the house, and we did whatever we did. So we still encourage whatever way it comes out to come out.
Awesome. Thank
Picasso,
you.
Picasso said God invented the aardvark, the giraffe, and the elephant. He has no real style, so he must be an artist.
There you go. That is very, very true. Thank you guys so much. This was really fun. I apologize that I had some technical difficulties there at the beginning, but thank you for hanging with me. Jordan, this is really, really fun. For me, you guys are all experienced, incredible artists. And sometimes, because my day job is as a journalist, when I am in art communities, I sometimes, I don't know, feel strange. And I know that I shouldn't, but thank you for being so welcoming and so kind. I really, really appreciate that.
Of course, I do want to ask you one last question because I know you are working with nonprofit, and as the founder, I was wondering if that ties into your work or your painting and all. And can you actually tell us a little bit about your nonprofit?
Sure. In 2010, I founded my nonprofit, which is now called the Giving Foundation for Women and Children. And our main goal now, so when I was in college, I got pregnant and had a baby, but I had incredible parents. I had my son on Wednesday. I went back to class on Monday. My parents showed up with diapers, formula. They were like, do you want us to, do you want to come home? And I'm like, no, I'm keep my full load. I finished school a semester early. And there are other young ladies out there who are in that situation, but don't have the support system that I had. So my nonprofit is that bridge to try to help those young moms. We're preparing to launch a scholarship program, in fact, in a month, for young moms who are in college. And we provide, around the holidays, we provide brand new coats, toys, gloves, bikes to more than 400 children across the DC region. In the past, we've provided like clothing and food and all the different things like that. But now we're really narrowing our focus to just the scholarship program and then our holiday giveaway, which we had which was just amazing. The name of the nonprofit is thegfwc.org, the Giving Foundation for Women and Children. We started in 2010, just a handful of women, and didn't know it was going to be a nonprofit. I just started by holding events to raise money to give to other nonprofits who aligned with my thought of helping women and children. And it grew into a space where my friends were like, we want to donate, but we also want a tax write-off. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't we just become a nonprofit? And we did. And now we have our own programs, we have a board, we have the whole nine. So that's when I say I have 3 careers. I'm a journalist, I'm an artist, and I'm a nonprofit founder, and they keep me very, very busy. So thank you for asking about that. It's my other passion. So if any of them I could let go right now, it would be this one. No, give it up. I love this one, but the other 2, like every day, bring me immense joy.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and it's an incredible journey you've gone, I'm sure.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Lenny, to all of you, Jordan, you guys, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you to Lenny and everybody. And in 2 weeks, we have some incredible artists presenting their work. 3 artists: Anne Marchland, Claudia Aziza Gibson Hunter, and Shanti Chandrasekhar. I hope I'm saying her last name correctly. I think she's here, actually. We're so excited to hear your guys' story and talk a little bit about the ins and outs of abstract painting in the DMV area. So join us in 2 weeks on February 7th. And thank you, Lenny, and thank you, Shawn Yancy, for being here today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Stay safe in the snow, everybody. Watch NBC4. We'll be on nonstop tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Stay warm and cozy, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.